Imagine the roar, the smoke, faces etched by fear. A continent's fate, desperate courage, hung by a thread. Then, a thunderous charge, everything shifted. The ground trembled, crying out for freedom, a new world. And then, silence. A profound quiet, heavy with sacrifice, descended. It marked the end of old ways. 3 centuries of empire brought to its knees. A final, heartbreaking surrender echoing across generations, forever. Far above the world, where mountains touch sky, a final, impossible stand was made here. Ayacucho. A name that, for so long, felt like a whisper. A moment of destiny waiting. For 300 years, the Spanish crown ruled. A vast empire, now facing its ultimate reckoning. 2 armies, starkly unequal, converged. The stage was set for an epic, brutal drama of freedom. On one side, barely 6,000 patriots, weary souls, fighting for a dream, a hope they scarcely believed. Against them, 9,000 entrenched Spanish imperial soldiers, a formidable force confident in their might, their numbers. High in these unforgiving Andean peaks, every breath a struggle. This was no ordinary battlefield, but fate. More than a clash of arms, Ayacucho was a desperate gamble for a continent's very soul. It was meant to be the single, decisive blow, a stroke that would forever reshape history. This was where 3 centuries of Spanish rule would be buried, interred, never to rise truly. And from its ashes, a new world would be forged. Independent nations, a new tapestry breathing free. Feel the tension, the quiet dread before the storm. History held its breath, suspended on one prayer. Listen closely. Can you hear the distant echoes? The whispers of a battle about to change everything. This is an epic tale, a story not just of war, but of the spirit yearning for freedom. How could 6,000 dare challenge 9,000, entrenched and powerful? The odds were truly impossible. Every patriot knew this was their last chance. Desperation born of struggle, fueling their deep resolve. This final confrontation, high in the Andes, was not merely a battle, it was an act of destiny. And now, my friend, let us journey back. Feel the profound weight of this sacred old history. Imagine, my friend, a shadow stretching for centuries, touching every mountain and river, a vast empire. For 300 years, this grip held firm, shaping lives, cultures, and destinies across an entire continent. From snow-capped peaks to humid jungles, Spain's dominion was an undeniable, formidable presence in all lands. This wasn't just land claimed, it was a system, a complex web of laws, beliefs, and absolute control. The earth itself groaned under the weight of extraction, its riches flowing far across the distant seas. Life unfolded under this iron hand. Daily rhythms were dictated by distant crowns, shaping every breath always. Generations lived and died knowing only this rule, feeling its presence in their fields, homes, and prayers forever. The very spirit of these lands, once free, now beat to a different drum, a European cadence indeed. But beneath the surface, a quiet unease stirred. A seed of discontent, barely perceptible, was truly planted. Small whispers, discontented murmurs, began to weave through the taverns and hidden courtyards, growing stronger daily. Ideas, like embers, began to glow in the shadows, fueled by tales of distant revolutions and urgent freedom. The longing for self, for a destiny not written by others, grew stronger with each passing season now. The weight of centuries began to strain the very foundations of this immense, imposing structure, threatening all. Then, like a sudden storm, the quiet unrest erupted. The call for freedom echoed across the awakening land. One by one, new banners were raised, igniting a fervent, desperate struggle for independence, a hopeful light. The vastness that once defined Spanish power now became its undoing, a fragmented, brutal battleground indeed. Brave souls rose, sacrificing everything, their lives a testament to an unyielding desire for ultimate liberty. Blood was shed, tears flowed, as the brutal reality of war touched every corner of human existence. Far away, in Madrid, The once mighty empire itself was faltering, its strength waning considerably and sadly. European conflicts and internal struggles had sapped its vigor, leaving it weakened and weary, almost broken. Maintaining such a distant, vast domain became an impossible task for a kingdom under siege, truly. Its grip, once iron, now felt increasingly fragile, like sand slipping through cupped hands, slowly fading. The sun began to set on an empire that had once boasted it never would, a slow, somber fading. But one jewel remained, a final bastion, Peru, a powerful symbol of all that was truly left. This was their last stand, their final desperate attempt to cling to past glory. A heavy burden indeed. Peru represented not just territory, but the very soul, the defiant spirit of the empire itself, enduring. Every ounce of dwindling Spanish power was now poured into holding this vital, sacred ground with all force. By 1824, both sides were utterly spent, weary from years of relentless, brutal conflict and struggle. The cost in human life, in shattered dreams, was immeasurable. A profound silence now truly lingered. Yet, the final decisive blow was still to come, a testament to enduring human will, unyielding forever. The dream of liberty, a fragile thing, born amidst hardship, whispered through the valleys and mountains. Against formidable odds, outnumbered and undersupplied, they carried the flickering torch of a new future. Their spirit, though tested by countless trials, remained an indomitable flame, fueled by profound hope. These were ordinary souls, called to an extraordinary cause, their courage carved from the very earth. Then, a visionary leader emerged, his gaze fixed on a continent's destiny, a beacon of hope. Bolivar's grand dream, a unified Gran Colombia, a bastion of freedom stretching far and wide. His ambitions spanned mountains and rivers, connecting peoples who had known only division and struggle. It was a dream both beautiful and daunting, woven from shared ideals, yet tested by harsh realities. Across scorching plains, through unforgiving mountains, the Patriots marched, leaving a trail of sacrifice. From every corner, men and women answered freedom's call, uniting under a single urgent banner. Beside Bolivar, Ayacucho's strength, Antonio José de Sucre, his most trusted, brilliant lieutenant. Sucre, a man of profound calm, possessed a mind as sharp as any blade, a strategic genius. Their partnership, forged in the crucible of war, was the very bedrock of the Patriot cause. The campaigns began in Venezuela's heart, a bitter struggle for the very soul of the land. Every step in Venezuela, across its harsh terrains, was paid for in sweat, blood, and tears. The fight then swept across New Granada, where liberty's whisper became a resounding roar. They scaled the icy, breathtaking heights of the Andes, a testament to unimaginable human will. The sheer effort was immense. Every body ached, every spirit tested, pushing past all limits. Finally, the armies turned towards Peru, the jewel in the crown of Spanish colonial power. They had crossed a continent, enduring years of relentless war, their journey etched in history. Decades of campaigning, of fighting, had etched weary lines onto every face and heart. The immense fatigue, a heavy cloak, settled upon every soldier, every general, every soul. Yet, beneath the weariness, a profound hope still flickered, refusing to be extinguished entirely. The ultimate prize beckoned, continental independence, a destiny whispered through generations, now within reach. A decisive victory was no longer an option, but an absolute, critical necessity for freedom. Ayacucho, a name destined to echo through time, would be the stage for their make-or-break moment. Generations of hope, of struggle, of silent prayers, all converged on this final, fateful field. What sacrifices had been made, what dreams had been deferred for this single, glorious chance. The fate of an entire continent, its future independence, rested precariously on this one great blow. And so, the stage was set, the armies gathered, for a battle that would forever define a continent. The mountains, silent witnesses to centuries, felt the earth stir beneath them once more. A tremor, Two destinies, two titans, slowly, inevitably began their final fateful dance towards a single point. It was not a sudden burst, but a slow tightening, a coil winding tighter with each passing day. The air grew thick with anticipation, heavy with the weight of unfulfilled dreams and lingering injustices. Bolivar, with a mind like a grand chessboard, saw beyond the immediate. He orchestrated the larger game. He understood the vastness of this land, its secrets. His vision was both audacious and precise. Orders fanned out like whispers carried on the Andean wind, setting in motion a grand, intricate plan. Every mountain, every river, every valley was part of his design. A deliberate step in a larger purpose. He knew the Spanish weakness, their reliance on control. Bolivar sought to stretch them thin, then strike. This was not just battle, but an art of movement, of drawing the enemy exactly where he wanted them. Sucre, Bolivar's trusted hand, became the relentless pursuer, a shadow haunting the royalist movements. Day after day, mile after weary mile, his men followed, fueled by a fierce, burning hope for freedom. There was no turning back for them, only the path forward, towards an uncertain but essential destiny. He pressed on, calculating every step, every ridge, every river crossing with unwavering precision. Even in brief rests, the tension was palpable, a silent promise of what the new dawn would bring. Sucre's relentless march was a drumbeat, echoing the approaching end of an age. History awaited. Meanwhile, in Lima, La Serna wrestled with the dwindling remnants of a once mighty empire. The pressure mounted. He felt the weight of a crown he was sworn to protect, a legacy to uphold. A decisive battle, he reasoned, was the only way. To reclaim what was lost, to restore order. For him it was about honor, duty, and preserving the long-held glory of the Spanish Empire. He chose to meet them head-on, to stake everything on one final, monumental roll of the dice. Their path, too, was arduous, yet driven by the pride of an established order fighting for its very existence. His numbers were superior, he believed, a larger force, a decisive advantage in a pitched battle, 9,000 disciplined soldiers against 6,000 ragtag rebels. The odds, he thought, were clear. He saw a chance to crush the rebellion once and for all, to extinguish the flame of defiance. This would be the definitive blow, the final act to bury the dreams of an independent South America. Their confidence, however, masked a deeper truth. The fire of freedom burned brighter than any numbers. He stood on the precipice of history, unaware of the ground shifting beneath his seemingly solid feet. The Andes themselves became an adversary, a test of endurance for every man, every beast of burden. Hunger gnawed, cold bit deep, but a shared hardship forged bonds stronger than any chain. The air thinned, making every breath a struggle, every step an act of sheer, stubborn will. Paths barely visible, cliffs unforgiving, the land itself seemed to conspire against their passage. Nights were brutal, the cold seeping into bones, dreams of home a distant, comforting whisper. Yet, with each dawn, the resolve hardened, knowing this crucible shaped them for the task ahead. The Royalists, too, faced the unforgiving mountains, their grand uniforms offering little comfort now. Logistics became a nightmare. Supplies dwindled, morale strained under the immense physical toll. For many, loyalty waned, replaced by the raw, primal instinct of survival in this brutal terrain. The cold was impartial, biting at both sides, making allies of shared misery in this hostile world. Every obstacle, every delayed march, brought them closer, funneling both forces towards their fate. The land itself, with its cruel beauty, was dictating the terms, drawing them into its embrace. This isolated valley, Ayacucho, lay waiting. A name whispered by the wind, destined for history, from different directions, with different dreams, but with equal resolve. They were drawn together. The strategic dance, the relentless pursuit, the proud decision, all led to this single, inevitable moment. The crucible of a continent's future, poised to decide centuries of destiny, was finally set. The vast mountains watched, ancient and indifferent, as a continent's fate hung, frail and uncertain. Each solitary act, a prayer whispered on the wind, preparing for a dawn that could change everything. The quiet hum of anticipation settled, plans taking shape under the watchful, nervous eyes of leaders. The biting highland air gnawed at skin and spirit, a constant, cruel reminder of nature's indifference. Thousands of brave hearts beat together, small beacons of defiance in the vast, imposing Andean night. The very breath felt stolen, each inhale a struggle against the altitude's relentless, silent pressure. Sleep offered little warmth, only fractured dreams of home, shattered by the chilling reality here. This was not gentle terrain. Every step was a testament to endurance, a battle against Earth itself. Each weary stride carried the weight of a nation's hope, across a landscape both beautiful and cruel. The wind carried no comfort, only the vast emptiness of the world, echoing their quiet, desperate prayers. In shared silence, they found a fragile strength, a bond forged in hardship, facing a common fate. As light touched the earth, it revealed the raw, untamed beauty and the immense, daunting task ahead. His youth felt heavy on his shoulders, a silent question in his eyes. What price? This freedom. He had seen many dawns like this, but none carried such a profound, final, and heavy anticipation. The drum's low thrum vibrated through their bones, a primal call to face what destiny now demanded. The burden of leadership weighed, a silent promise to protect these weary, hopeful, and brave men. Small comforts, memories held close, were the anchors in this storm, a whisper of what was fought for. 6,000 souls, united in purpose, their collective will a quiet, powerful force, facing the impossible. Across the valley, the king's men, confident in numbers, prepared their well-ordered, disciplined ranks. Even the horses felt the coming storm, a restless energy stirring beneath their masters' firm hands. These banners represented a legacy, a proud history they believed could not, would not, be broken. Perhaps their great numbers bred a comfort, a quiet certainty that victory was already their right. Amidst the bravado, a flicker of doubt perhaps, as the immense stakes pressed upon every man. 9,000 strong, a formidable force, they believed this day would seal their dominion once more. 6,000 against 9, a stark, desperate gamble, freedom's faint whisper against empire's roar. The sheer weight of the numbers, a crushing presence, demanding courage beyond any mortal measure, an impossible mountain to climb, yet their hearts beat with a fiercer fire, an unyielding resolve. This chasm separated more than armies. It separated two futures, a continent held in the balance. Amidst the chaos, a brilliant mind, Sucre, saw patterns, a way to defy the crushing, obvious numbers. Every rock, every slope, meticulously chosen, transforming the rugged land into their silent, powerful ally. It was not about matching strength, but outsmarting it, turning weakness into an unforeseen, deadly advantage. His gaze held the quiet intensity of a man carrying destiny, yet finding calm amidst the storm. Hidden strengths, carefully placed, waiting patiently, poised to unleash a devastating, unforeseen impact. Though few, they stood as one, a solid wall of resolve, strategically placed to meet the coming tide. Across the way, a quiet confidence, perhaps bordering on arrogance, guided the Spanish command's next moves. Their vast numbers whispered assurances, perhaps blinding them to the subtle, deadly cunning of their foe. For centuries, they had ruled. This rebellion surely was but a fleeting, minor inconvenience. Overconfidence, like a silent poison, can often cloud judgment, even for the most seasoned commanders. Faint echoes of steel, the first tastes of battle, sending shivers through the waiting, watchful air. Each movement observed, each sound noted, drawing the inevitable bloody lines of the impending collision. These small fires ignited the fuse, building the tension, heralding the coming momentous detonation. A profound hush descended, the world holding its breath, poised on the very edge of destiny's precipice. Each face, a canvas of fear and hope, ready to play its part in history's most demanding, final drama. The sun rose, indifferent to the fate of men, on a continent awaiting its final, decisive, bloody verdict. The pre-dawn silence stretched, heavy with unspoken fears, a held breath before plunging into icy, unknown depths. The king's men, confident in numbers, prepared for a righteous, swift victory, believing destiny was theirs. Across the valley, Sucre's patriots waited, a smaller flame, burning with fierce, unyielding light for their liberty. As the sun climbed, light revealed a stark truth, a formidable, confident enemy ready to crush all. Their commanders, seasoned and assured, gave the order. Grim certainty hardened their eyes for the terrible storm. Then, the drums spoke, a low, insistent rumble, carrying empire's weight, rolling down the mountain slopes. They moved as one, a vast, disciplined engine. Footsteps echoed the long, cold shadow of imperial power. From Sucre's vantage, the enemy advanced, an unstoppable wave, threatening to drown their sacred hopes. A flash, a roar. The first iron seed of destruction soared. The battle for a continent finally begun. The ground shuddered, a stark reminder of brute force against their fragile, precious future dreams. Sucre, ever watchful, absorbed the blows. His mind raced, calculating, bracing for the great onslaught. Spanish infantry lines continued their methodical advance, closing distance, their flags fluttering defiantly. Patriot musketeers, poised, ready, gripped weapons, eyes fixed on the enemy, each breath a quiet, silent prayer. A ripple of musket fire erupted from Spanish ranks. Cacophony of sound and smoke filled the air. Initial chaos, a deafening symphony of fear and courage, swallowed the landscape whole, without mercy. Through choking smoke, men moved like phantoms, locked in a desperate, brutal dance. This was war. Yet, they held. A stubborn, unyielding line, testament to a spirit refusing to ever break. The glint of steel, bayonets fixed, they charged, a human wave crashing against liberty's rock. The roar turned to a guttural scream. Flesh met steel, a terrible, intimate dance, deciding life. Though outnumbered, they met the charge with fierce resolve. Every parry, every thrust, a cry for land. Powder flashed, burning the air. So close, the enemy's breath was a shared, desperate gasp. Cannon smoke lingered, a silent witness to the profound cost of this desperate, final push. "Stand firm!" a voice cried, cutting through the din. A leader's resolve, a fragile anchor. The sheer weight of numbers pressed. A slow, grinding tide threatened to overwhelm their brave stand. Sucre watched, every movement, every fallen man. A continent's fate rested heavy upon him. A small give, then fierce pushback. The battle ebbed and flowed, a brutal, human tide. Wounded, weary, yet they fought on. Every stone, every rifle butt, a desperate plea. The initial Spanish confidence began to falter, met by an unyielding spirit, truly unforeseen. A young face, grim with dust and resolve, embodied the beautiful, terrible cost of this day. Above the fray, a tattered flag still flew, a silent, defiant promise against overwhelming odds. On the flanks, proud cavalry waited, a deadly threat, poised to shatter any last hope. Sucre, burdened by lives, weighed terrible options. Every decision a gamble for a continent's fate. The valley roared, a primal, unending scream of men. Steel, powder, a sound no one forgets. Amidst the terror, quiet heroism bloomed. Small acts of courage, a fragile light for freedom. The enemy's lines stretched, seemingly endless, a stark, overwhelming reminder of imperial might. Fatigue gnawed, a silent, persistent enemy within. Yet, the will to fight burned, unyielding. The sun beat down, adding fierce heat to this inferno. The air, thick with destiny, no retreat, only forward or stand, and face the final, brutal judgment of history. The melee continued unabated, a churning mass. The outcome hung, intensely contested, for all. Like an ancient tree in a tempest, battered but not broken, liberty's spirit held. The weight of a nation, prayers of countless souls, pressed heavy upon one man. Despite relentless pressure, Patriot lines, though thinned, remained unbroken. A defiant barrier. This valley, once serene, was now a crucible. History hammered out one final, decisive blow. The first wave crashed, but did not break them. The stage was set for freedom's destiny. The morning sun, once a promise, now revealed only endless struggle. Hope felt a fragile thing. Each push, each parry, carried the weight of a continent's yearning. Freedom's price was steep. From his vantage, Sucre saw not just chaos, but patterns emerging from the storm. A chance. The Royalist generals, confident in their numbers and position, perhaps gravely underestimated their spirit. A whisper of a plan, unconventional and daring, began to take form in Sucre's mind. Under the very eyes of the foe, a silent movement began, unseen, unheard, audacious. The cavalry, a coiled spring of power, awaited the precise moment to unleash their might. Across the tumultuous field, a simple flag unfurled, a silent command, a turning point. Then, the earth trembled. A torrent of horses, a living tide, surged forward with purpose. The Spanish ranks, rigid moments before, now buckled under this unexpected, furious assault. Seeing the breach, the infantry surged. A wave of renewed hope washed over tired faces. The unforgiving terrain, once an obstacle, now became an ally, a shield, a strategic advantage. Confusion rippled through the Royalist lines. This was truly not the battle they had expected. Amidst the chaos, a banner still flew, held firm by a hero, inspiring countless others. Sucre, like a master weaver, pulled threads of destiny, calmly directing the unfolding drama. Through the acrid smoke, they pressed on, each step a testament to unbreakable resolve. The Royalist wall, so imposing, now showed hairline fractures. The mounting pressure was immense. First one, then another. The rigid discipline began to fray, fear taking its cold grip. The charging cavalry, relentless, became the very embodiment of retribution and relentless pursuit. Desperate cries from officers, a final defiant stand, but the spirit of resistance waned. A surge of pure, unadulterated triumph swept through Patriot ranks. Victory felt tangible. What began as an orderly withdrawal soon devolved into a desperate, headlong, chaotic flight. The ground became a graveyard of their resolve, littered with abandoned hopes and weapons. Sucre watched, not with glee, but with the quiet understanding of a colossal moment. A tattered banner, once a symbol of empire, now captured, heralded a new dawn. Weariness etched on every face, yet a quiet joy, a deep satisfaction, settled upon them. The silence that followed was heavy, a profound echo of the struggle that had just ended. The setting sun painted the sky, a dramatic backdrop to the hard-won freedom they claimed. Around Sucre, the commanders gathered, not in cheers, but in a silent, shared understanding. Victory's triumph always carries a somber echo, the profound, irrevocable cost of lasting peace. As stars began to twinkle, a new chapter in South America's story quietly began. Ayacucho, the blow that finally fractured centuries of a distant, imperial, unyielding grasp. This ground, soaked in blood and courage, now held the seeds of an independent destiny. From these majestic mountains, a whisper of freedom would echo through all future generations. For Sucre, victory brought not only relief, but the immense weight of the future. It was the countless brave souls, the common men, who truly forged this precious freedom. A heavy veil lifted, revealing a future unburdened by the shadow of colonial power. From this single decisive battle, the destiny of a vast continent was fundamentally reshaped. The broken standard on the blood-soaked ground whispered of an empire's irreversible twilight. As night descended, a fragile, hard-earned peace enveloped the victorious, exhausted land. The quiet promise of a new morning, a continent awakening to its very own song. Old scars remain, but now they tell a story of courage, sacrifice, and enduring freedom. The wind still whispers stories of that day, a gentle reminder of history's profound turning point. And so, the echoes of Ayacucho resound, forever shaping the heart of a free continent. The dust, a silent witness, slowly began to settle, revealing the raw, brutal truth of what had just transpired. The deafening cacophony of battle began to recede, leaving behind an unfamiliar, almost unsettling quietness. Exhausted faces slowly lifted. Their eyes, weary from combat, now held a glimmer of unbelievable dawning realization. Scattered pockets of valiant, yet doomed, Spanish resistance crumbled, their fight finally extinguished, like embers fading. A swift, almost gentle gesture from an officer confirmed it. The fighting, after so much sacrifice, had truly ended. A heavy sigh escaped. A tattered banner slowly lowered, not in shame, but in the profound silence of defeat. The viceroy, wounded and weary, bore the heavy weight of a world irrevocably lost, etched upon his noble face. Their proud uniforms disheveled, Spanish officers gathered, a silent, somber council, grappling with the unthinkable outcome. A white flag, a hesitant breath, rose against the vast Andean sky, a symbol of profound, painful surrender. Hands met over parchment, not in enmity, but in the solemn, final act of a new world beginning. The valley floor, once a tempest, now lay in profound, unsettling stillness, holding the silent whispers of sacrifice. A profound, almost sacred silence descended, heavier than any sound, settling over the scarred, exhausted land. A young soldier, hat removed, gazed into the vast distance, a quiet awe replacing the fire of battle. A flicker of a smile, fragile yet true, emerged, catching like fire across weary, triumphant faces. Hands clasped tightly, a silent bond of triumph and shared endurance passing between those who had fought. First, a tentative cheer, then another, growing into a tide of sound, washing over the victorious ranks. Cheers erupted, hats soared high. Joy, raw and unfettered, finally broke through the exhaustion of war. Amidst the triumph, the somber reality of wounds remained, a quiet testament to the heavy cost of freedom. Amidst the fallen, a small flower bloomed, a fragile whisper of hope emerging from the earth's sorrow. A hero's gaze held both immense pride and a deep, aching sorrow for those who would not see. Disarmed, heads bowed low, the proud Spanish army marched into an uncertain future, their empire now gone. Weapons stacked, banners furled, symbols of a long era quietly yielded to the relentless march of time. The sun now shone on a liberated land, forever changed. A new chapter of destiny had truly begun. The cannons are silent now. The smoke cleared. A profound stillness blankets the valley, whispering of change. Here, at Ayacucho, an old world crumbled. The final, heavy blow had been delivered with solemn grace. This was no metaphor, dear friend. The blow that buried an empire was profoundly, terribly real. Spanish dominion, centuries old, faded into memory. A vast continent, once held captive, now exhaled. Like a grand old tree, its roots deep, it was finally felled. A new forest would soon blossom. From snow-capped peaks to endless plains, the winds of freedom now truly swept across these lands. The grip loosened, then vanished entirely. Spain's chapter in South America was unequivocally closed. For Peru, Ayacucho was the definitive sunrise. Their independence was no longer merely a dream. The peace they sought, often elusive, was finally their own. A nation forged in sacrifice. Ayacucho became the sacred ground where Peru's destiny was forever sealed. A powerful testament. The echoes of that battle rippled outward, touching every corner, inspiring burgeoning new republics. Nations like ours, born of strife, now stood tall, breathing the air of self-determination. Each country, once a fragment, now solidified. The continent was truly free, a constellation of nations. It was the last great roar, the final punctuation mark in a long, arduous struggle, a poignant farewell to centuries of conflict. This battle brought a profound sense of closure. More than victory, it was the final act, ushering in a new dawn for all. The very contours of the continent's future were drawn then, etched in blood and valor. From the dust of empire, new nations rose, each with its own heartbeat and identity. Sucre, the young general, his name now synonymous with destiny, forever changed a continent. Bolivar's grand vision, imperfect yet monumental, found its ultimate realization on that field. Freedom's gift carried its own heavy burdens. Nation building was a new, complex struggle. The path ahead, while free, would be fraught with trials, questions of identity and governance. Forever free from colonial chains, these nations embarked on their own profound, unfolding destinies. And so, friends, we stand at the quiet plains of Ayacucho, where history etched its deepest marks. It's a story of raw courage, of spirits unbowed, facing daunting odds for a dream, and brilliant minds orchestrating victory where many saw only impossible, insurmountable challenges ahead. Above all, Ayacucho whispers of freedom's unyielding call, a universal human yearning. This was not just a skirmish. It was the hinge upon which a continent swung its destiny, the final, decisive blow against an empire, echoing through every corner of the globe. We journeyed through mountains, valleys, and across oceans, witnessing an epic struggle unfold. From distant dreams to a hard-won reality, the sacrifice and triumphs painted history, a complex tapestry woven with threads of hope, despair, and ultimately, triumphant liberation. If this journey moved your heart, please, a simple click of the like button helps. Subscribe to our channel. Join our growing family for more cinematic historical deep dives. Your thoughts are truly cherished. Share your reflections on other pivotal battles. Let's build a community where history isn't just learned, but deeply felt together. Until our next shared journey into the past, remember freedom's delicate, precious cost.